Alright guys, what's going on? I got a little bit of a sniffle here, so we're going to try to get through this. And yes, we're talking about it. I know it's very late, but nonetheless we're talking about it. Avengers Infinity War. Now, while it is a great movie, and while I can watch it many times and still enjoy it, as with most Marvel movies, there is something that I find really interesting that people haven't really talked about more. Everyone's having to get nerfed. It's not that people have to be nerfed to make it a good movie. Like, it's actually kind of hard to find a video on YouTube. Like, I'm sure it's not that hard, but if you think about all the movies that we've led up to now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have everything from Iron Man in 2008 to Black Panther right before the release of Avengers Infinity War. Now think of all the moments of build-up and of triumph and of learning and of skill crafting, and all the improvement of technology. And in each movie, I guarantee that you've seen a point where each person really proved their stuff. Like, you have moments where, Tony's completely making his armor better all the time, and where other people are really coming into themselves as a person and, coming into their own space and unlocking their true potential. But then it's weird because it feels like in Infinity War, everybody was kind of backscaled a little bit, because it was a great movie and I really did enjoy it, and it was awesome, really. It was a really good movie, right? But the thing that bugs me, and I almost know exactly why, or at least I think I know exactly why they had to do this, it's as if because you have so many powerful people in one movie, everybody has to be brought down a level in order for it to not be just a 5-minute fight, and that's the whole movie. You know what I mean? Because I feel that if everybody was performing at their maximum potential, the movie would have only been like 5 minutes long. And might I point out that Thor Ragnarok, which is the timeline of the MCU, Ragnarok is I think ends right before the timeline of where Infinity War begins, Infinity War Part 1. Now the whole point, or one of the whole points of Thor Ragnarok, was Thor realizing that he didn't need a hammer anymore, because it was just to help him focus his energy, but then he had this amazing realization that he doesn't need it, and now he can just summon his lightning on his own. And then what does he immediately set out to do again? He needs a hammer, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, was all of Ragnarok, that movie, just for nothing now? Like, all that you've learned, apparently now you just need a hammer again? Now, granted, Stormbreaker was a very powerful weapon, and so I can understand needing all the help you can get to fight Thanos. Now, I understand that. But I just feel like his abilities weren't accentuated enough. And same thing with, it's been a while since I've watched Avengers 2. This is just all going off memory, by the way, but Vision, correct me if I'm wrong, was a very powerful ally in Avengers 2. He did a lot of damage, a lot of really good damage, and of course he's a mix of Jarvis and Tony and Bruce and other people's intellect, and the stone, of course, all mixed together, as you learned in Infinity War. And so with all of this intellect and power, you'd think he'd be one of the most powerful and useful allies, right? No, what really bummed me out is he was struggling to fight just one, maybe two sometimes, of Thanos' little minions, and it wasn't even the Squidward guy he was fighting the other guys. He just felt useless the whole film, and it just didn't really make sense, and it would have been nice to know why, for some reason, that mystical spear kept his body from phasing back together, you know what I mean? It felt like he was just kind of the baby that everybody had to protect the whole time, and he couldn't really stand on his own or walk or run, and it was a big buzzkill, I guess. And then, not just that, but it's first of all, Hulk, or Bruce Banner with the green tile dysfunction throughout the whole movie. It's Hulk was there one time for a few minutes and then just gone, and it's why? He's faced, if you follow all the movies, which I don't know if all of them are connected or not, but at least the most recent Hulk standalone movie, which was in 2009 or 2010 or something, when he faced Abomination, he took a lot more damage than he did in Infinity War, and that didn't stop him from continuing to be Hulk, you know what I mean? And I'm sure if you read up on the lore and stuff behind Hulk, you know that he's a really powerful, unstoppable beast, you know what I mean? And so to just have him nope out the whole movie, pretty much, and then have like this conflict of personalities within Bruce Banner, it was kind of like, come on, man, you know what I mean? And then like he had to result to using the Hulk Buster, which was cool nonetheless, but you know what I mean? Like it would have been so much more useful to just have Hulk there. And like the list really goes on, but it's all to just emphasize the point that when you really start to pay attention, you can't deny that I don't know if something happened along the way that caused this, but the writing just was not on point as it could be. It's not that it was not on point, or it's not that the writing was terrible, because there's a lot of writing in there which I really like. But then again, I'm very easy to please when it comes to Marvel movies. But it just felt like it could have been done better, and you'll know what I mean, because if you watch how it should have ended, and they'll show a bunch of different ways that they could have defeated Thanos and stuff like that, a lot of them are really simple, or at least simple enough to execute, but it requires some cleverness. But you think that between Doctor Strange and all these other people, that they'd be able to put something together to effectively stop Thanos. Like, for example, somebody else on YouTube actually mentioned the same instance, but I was thinking of it for a little bit now. In the Doctor Strange standalone movie, there was a scene where he was at the very end when he had to stop Dormammu, right? And he just trapped him in a time loop. And there you go, problem solved. Dormammu can't do anything to fight it, like, no choice but to give up, right? The Time Stone was not utilized throughout the entire movie except to see into the future, to see the possibilities of which they win. And other than, of course, spoiler alert, Thanos using it, right? And I hope that you're not watching this video if you haven't seen the movie yet, because it really just should be, you know, on the list of things to do before you watch YouTube videos about the movie. You can't really blame me there, but it's just... why? There's so many things that could have been done better. And like you'll see, I definitely recommend that you watch How It Should Have Ended for Infinity War is hilarious. But like using the diamond dimension, using, for example, like you could tell that what's her name with the red hair and the mystical power stuff, how strong she was with the fact that she can hold back Thanos with one hand and destroy Vision with the other, because try to prevent him from getting the stone. But spoiler alert, Thanos uses the Time Stone to rewind everything, and kill Vision, take the stone. Like you'd think it would have been nice for you guys to try to use the Time Stone, or whatever. But and then Doctor Strange saying that he's not gonna go, making deal or risking anything to save anybody, which he does the exact opposite. He gives Thanos the Time Stone in exchange for Tony's life, but you could argue that that's because that was the only instance in which they would win, which I'm guessing is true. But I think what I wanted to remember to say, the overlooming fact of the matter is, I think all of this ridiculous, all these little ridiculous outcomes that happen throughout the movie that don't really make sense and don't really do the characters any justice, like make it feel like, man, you guys really are out of shape, you're underpowered, or you're really inconvenienced, like what's going on, guys, the team's not what it used to be. I think the reason for all this stuff going on and this kind of frustration is because if everybody performed at maximum capacity, I don't think there'd be a second movie. And of course I don't have any facts to back this up with, but you could probably just, infer from other things you may have seen in life where the same things happen, where they've kind of tried to stretch out the storyline in order to make some more movies, And it could be equated to something as simple as making more money because the movies are very profitable, and I understand that. I understand the business behind it, and I get it, you gotta make money, even though they're already making a lot, but still, that's not the point. But I think that the writing could have been a little bit more. They could have explained things better, or at least in such a way that made sense as to why they couldn't do certain things. Like, at least I think it would have been more forgivable, at least if people tried to use their full 100% power, and then something happened where Thanos was able to counter it with something as equally or more clever with some of the Infinity Stones that he had at the time. It would have been better at least if they tried to do these really cool outside the box things, and then Thanos just outsmarted them. Then I think we'd all be satisfied with that, because we know, okay, they actually tried something that was smart. They actually and say, you know, if all the characters were there, you know, Hulk, if everybody was contributing, and they still failed, then it would have been really forgivable, because you know they tried, you know they did their best. But having these scenes where you can tell something isn't quite right and people aren't doing a good job for some reason, that is what kind of takes you away from the whole movie and makes you kind of like, well, what happened? Why is it that this is happening, you know? And so that is just my thoughts, and I don't want to make the video any longer because I think I've made a pretty good point. But I love the movie. I'm gonna, of course, love the second one, and you know, it'll be awesome when it comes out. Definitely gonna go see it. But I just wish that they would put a bit more effort into writing things in such a way where, yes, it is a movie combining a bunch of really powerful people, but they're doing it in such a way that it makes sense and it doesn't feel like anyone's having to get nerfed on purpose in order to make the movie longer than a 5-minute fight in which they win easily because there's like 20-to-1 ratio, you know what I mean? But like, you know, that's why they're paid the big bucks, to try to, you know, come up with these cool storytelling ideas. And I think that they didn't do enough of that, so I hope, well, hopefully they do in the future. And because that would just be good fan service and kind of keeping true to a lot of what these characters are known for. Like, I think one of the things that bugs me for the longest time about Hulk is, to my knowledge, from at least one of the earlier Hulk movies, and some of the animated stuff for Avengers, the angrier he gets, the bigger and the stronger he gets, and that's why he is or should be one of the strongest Avengers, is because that continuous fight, that continuous rage just grows and becomes more powerful, and you know, he gets bigger, he gets stronger, and so that, I think, really has not been played up at all or enough in any of the movies. He's just been really consistent, but I think it'd be cool to see, like, imagine a fight scene in which Hulk adapted to the situation, growing in this power over time, but it took a lot of, it had to allow for him to take a lot of hits. You know, like, say, you can imagine that fight at the beginning where Thanos and Hulk were duking it out, but then, you know, Thanos not just hit him, but started to use some of the Infinity Gauntlet stuff, and then as a result, Hulk's body adapted and became stronger, and then that started to tip the balance a little bit, and then, say, Thanos had to do something like fight more cleverly or fight more dirty, like, say, he creates something that, you know, sucks Hulk out of the ship, like what they did to the Squidward guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that people have to be nerfed to make it a good movie. You just need to think of better ways to write in how Thanos is not only really powerful, but also really clever, really smart in a way that makes him still a threat. Because he doesn't have to be single-handedly more powerful than everyone all the time. But I think what makes a villain even better is not just how powerful that they can be, but how smart and how clever they can be. It's like Scar is a beloved villain in Disney, but he's not the most powerful guy. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's killed by hyenas at the end. You know what I mean? Like, those are not big animals, even though it's probably a really big pack. But you know what I mean? He's not this big brute. He's kind of conniving. He's scheming. You know, he's threatening, even though he doesn't have all the muscle to back it up. But he doesn't need it. It's like Joker. Joker is somebody who's, you know, scary and threatening and stuff like that, and a lot of people have that respect for him because of this lunatic that he is. But it's not actual strength that makes him a good villain. It's so much more than that. I just think that they could have tried to do, I'm not saying you have to make Thanos like Joker or anything, but I'm just saying make him a threat on multiple levels, so then you can justify why the Avengers can't beat him in one movie. You know what I mean? Like, I just think, be creative. Be creative with it. Have fun with it. Be creative and do it in a way that makes sense and that feels justified and feels like, okay, they really gave it a good shot, but, you know, they still lost. But, you know, we're going to have another member to the team. Captain Marvel's coming back. Let's see what happens, you know. Maybe that's that extra little bit to push them above the bar, you know what I mean? Like, just, come on, guys, you know, like, think about it and make something really cool with it. But on that note, that ends this rant. You could call it a rant. It's really not, I don't want it to be a rant, because it's really just meant to be like, here's what I thought was great, here's what I thought wasn't so great, here's how you could do it better. because these videos usually should have something like that. Like, that's what makes a good critique, is you're not just saying, oh, this is sucks because it sucks, but that, you know, it's good and it has some bad stuff, but here's how you can improve it. And I hope that I did that. And specifically, I might just say real quick what was good. So what was good is that we had a lot of representation of different characters. Everybody's getting together, you know, getting the gang back together. Awesome. I've watched some videos on YouTube that have explained the movie and how, you know, why it did well and why, my PlayStation making noise. Why Infinity War did well and why Justice League didn't, you know, stuff like that, and reasons why, and how the villain is given personality and even his minions are given personality, and everybody kind of has their own goals, and it makes to more layers of the story. That like general overall plot was done quite well, and very sad when certain characters died, you know what I mean? And they did that very well. And so keep doing those good things, but just add a little bit of that extra magic, you know, juice, you know, good sauce to it to make it just kind of your ideal, perfect story. And so, yeah. So, on that note, thanks so much for watching. I don't know if you made it this far, but if you did, thanks. And until next time, see you around.